Hi, Carolyn.
Hey.
There's Amber.
Hi, Amy.
Hi,
Hi, all the other fantastic people, all the faces. I love it.
I know, it's awesome. All right, we're going to get started in about 2 minutes.
It was so fun reading through the emails, Carolyn.
Yeah, I really want to acknowledge everybody who sent an email. I loved it. It was so fun to get to read, and there will be more opportunities to send some for a period of time. So we're excited. I'm excited. This is going to be fun. All right, we'll give everybody till exactly 11:30 because
Perfect.
people are probably racing from all over the world to be on this webinar in now 1 minute. Probably not, but maybe.
Oh.
And we'll have to see who comes from the furthest. I know who it might be, but maybe somebody will surprise us.
I feel like we should have music or something.
We should. Well, remember, aren't you working on that?
Yeah, I have a call about that. We'll discuss more.
This top secret project for the CFJ Coaching Success School that hopefully you'll all get to partake of. All right. We're just about ready to start. More people are popping on. Hi. All right, let's do this.
Well,
It is 11:30, and here we are for webinar number 2. And this is a fun one and an exciting one. We've never done this before. So we've never done this before. We're going to be actually looking at emails live. And Amy, do you want to say anything before we start? And we're going to ask everybody to mute. If you're on an iPhone or anything, mute it because it can make the sound kind of funny.
Yeah, so I'll start. I'll kick it off. So I want to do an introduction. So hello, I'm Amy Ruby, and I'm the director of the CFJ Coaching Success School. And I want to welcome you to the Stop Sliming, Start Thriving as a Professional Coach webinar. And so I have the distinct honor of introducing you to Carolyn today. Some of you may know Carolyn, and some of you have been on our webinars before, and there might be new people here that don't. So let me take a minute here just to introduce you to her. I've known Carolyn now for over 20 years. Can't believe it. It's gone so fast. Carolyn and I worked together at the University of Santa Monica, where we both received our master's degree in spiritual psychology. Amber is also a grad of, we call it USM. And Carolyn and I have the distinct pleasure of living next door to each other for 10 years. So I really know a lot about Carolyn.
And we're still friends.
And we're still friends, which is amazing. And I've watched Carolyn grow her own coaching practice from one of coaching people in her car in our downstairs carport of our apartment building to leaving her secure job of 10 years at the University of Santa Monica as the director of admissions in 2010 to start her full-time coaching practice. And this is also when she started a business partnership with her beloved best friend, Michelle Bauman. And Michelle was also a life coach. And unfortunately, Michelle passed away in 2015. Carolyn has also developed and taught the University of Santa Monica's Soul Center Professional Coaching Program with Steve Chandler, Stephen McGee, Michelle, and Drs. Ron and Mary Holnick from 2012 to 2017. And one of the reasons Carolyn founded the CFJ Coaching Success School in 2018 was to continue supporting coaches in earning a living that is sustainable and thriving. And Amber Chris, who's Carolyn's co-lead faculty and another USM graduate, as I said before, and amazing coach herself, will be co-facilitating on the call as well. So let's get started, and here's Carolyn.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate it very much. So today we are focusing on sliming, and I'm going to slow it down a little bit. I did get a couple of emails where people were like, why are you using that word? That word doesn't, gosh, that could feel harsh. And I want to talk about that before we get into the content that everybody sent in. And really, sliming is a way to describe when we're communicating with prospective clients and there's anything on it that might be of a salesy nature, that might be of a social self nature, that might be of a, let's just say it's not serving the person. It's about me. It's about what I want. It's about my own push to get a client. So I decided that an overarching, very technical term would be sliming. I really want you to know you don't have to take it personally. Like, I have been a master slimer, and I think it's a great thing. I mean, I learned so much when I was sliming. I do have compassion for the various people that I slimed, and I learned a lot. It's not, I really encourage people to not take it personally and to not make it mean anything. This is something all coaches learn, right? We don't know. We don't know when our communications have slime in them often. I mean, I would think my email was fantastic. I would send it to my coach, Steve Chandler. Michelle would be CC'd on it, and I'd be like, yes, he's going to be like, this is great. And he would write back and be like, you might want to reread. There's a lot of social self in here. And I'd go, oh, man. So, and then I would see it immediately. So we're blind to things. So that's what today is dedicated to seeing the light, to seeing the slime, to making different choices with our written communications. And I do want to say, we do this all the time in the school. So one of the things that's literally happening right now over on the private CFJ Coaching Success School Facebook page is coaches are posting their communications so they can get coaching in real time. And Amber will pop on and say, take a look at what you wrote here. So we do this a lot. It's one of the most fun things to me that we get to do. And I'm excited to get to extend it to a broader group of people, because to me, this is one of the things that the profession really needs, that we as a profession need to grow in our ability to communicate more effectively with less push on anything, with less attachment, with no attachment. So before we take it away and go to the first email, Amber, do you want to share anything?
Sure. I think I just want to reiterate what Carolyn just said regarding this is a learning curve. Like, Steve Chandler has this fantastic audio that he talks about serving versus pleasing. And I remember the first time I listened to that, he talked about how we basically have a master's degree in pleasing. We learn from a very young age how to please our parents, how to be good kids, how to not to make disruptions at the grocery store. And so when we're growing our own businesses as coaches or any real service-based business, I think that can leak into our communications, because we want to be friendly, we want to be liked, we want people to like us, it's like all of those things. And a lot of times, myself included, when I was first learning this, it was not easy. It was really uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable to share my draft or what I thought was good, and then get the feedback of like, actually that sucked. I mean, it was not they wouldn't say that to me, but in essence, that's how I heard it, which of course made it more painful. But then I lost my train of thought, Carolyn.
Okay.
Where was I going with this?
Just that it's a learning. This is all for learning.
Completely. And in the process, the more willing you are to share and be vulnerable and open yourself for the feedback, the more you'll learn the muscle. Oh, I remember what it was. It felt cold in the beginning to me.
Oh.
When I was first learning to really communicate from my professional self, and I get this feedback a lot, in particular from the female clients that I work with, they'll say it feels cold, it feels not friendly. And if that's where you are, in listening today, my encouragement is to continue to lean in, because it's not cold, it's not unfriendly, it's just different from what you're used to.
And it's about being professional. So that's part of what the learning is. And look, there are many coaches in this profession who are not coming out of a corporate background. So they didn't get the training, if you will, for how to communicate with professionalism, with a level of efficiency, that respects the reader, and all of those things. So I just invite everyone while we're together to be in the spirit of learning. And I'm going to set it up how we're going to do this. So in a minute, I'm going to open up the emails that we received, and we're going to go through them one at a time. And bravo to those of you that sent them.
It will be anonymous, by the way.
Anonymous.
She's not like opening her Gmail and being like, Jeff, great email from you.
We've stripped away all identifiers, and I'm going to take them one at a time. And I'm going to read them, but I'm going to share it on my screen so you can see it. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what I see and what I might do differently. And I might type while we're all talking. I might not. I'm going to see. And then I'm going to open it up to questions on each one. So that's how we're going to do it. And I'm going to be really technical and share my screen now. All right. Let's see. All right. I might need my friend Amy Ruby.
Look at Lucinda. Come on.
You can click on that.
Go. All right. Can we get Amber, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. We did it. It's so exciting.
Yeah, you did it, Carolyn. Nicely done.
Yes. I am relatively technically savvy. All right. So here's the first one. Subject line. Are you ready to say hi to yourself again? Welcome to, etc., an opportunity to join a small group of women for a unique experience. We will explore new ideas, dreams set aside, the joy of camaraderie, and most definitely light bulb moments, and so much more. Nestled in a cozy, warm environment, surely to make you feel welcomed, seen, and heard. Please find attached invitation for you to consider. The first 8 women to reply yes will be my guest for this complimentary, etc. That's the name of the event. So this email, first of all, I want to say this is a little bit different. So first of all, we can all see, right? This is not just to one person. This is an email that went out to a group of people. We don't know how many. And we see that it was an invitation to an event of some kind. So one thing I want to say about this, it's perfectly fine if you're doing some kind of event or complimentary day to do something like this. And this is not the best way to get people to come to your day. It's a way to start something. It's a way to kind of create an overall sense of what's happening. The key is going to be for this coach to then be literally sending personal emails to 15, 20, 25 women that they want there. So what that would look like is like, I might send this, and then I might, if I wanted Amber there, I would then forward the email, and above it, I would say, Amber, you received this already. I want you to know, I want you to be one of these 15 women. And let me tell you why. I want you to know why I want you there. And I would say things about Amber. You know, Amber, I see you as such a lightning rod for women professionals, particularly coaches. I think this day could really serve you in your growing leadership in your community. And I really want you there. So if you want to talk, let's talk, or let me know if you want me to save a seat for you. So again, personal is always going to be better. Now, again, these are everything we're going to do today. I'm hesitant because I'm concerned that a wave of rules are going to be thrust into our coaching world, and these are not rules. Everything is so nuanced. So everything I say to you today does not mean it's a blanket, do everything this way. See, that's the part of learning in this profession. And that's really why coaches need coaches. This is not something that I learned overnight. It's not something that Amber learned overnight. And it's certainly not something that we learned in a one-day event. This took a lot of time and a lot of someone looking at our emails and going, oh, Let's talk about this, or let me show you something. Now, the other thing I want to comment about this email, it says the first 8 women to reply yes will be my guest for this complimentary event. Now, personally, I am hesitant to encourage that kind of it. That line by itself could feel a little salesy. It could feel a little like there's like a gimmick, right? Oh, if you're the first, you'll get this. Lots of people like this. So I'm not in any way saying that it's wrong. What I'm saying though is it might feel to recipients like, oh, she's doing some sales thing. There's something going on here. Do you want to say anything about that, Amber?
Oh, I just agree with you.
Okay.
You know, I think about, as someone on the receiving end of an email like this, I have no idea that this event is happening. And so to get something like this, it's more around sharing what the coach is doing, but then there's this urgency, this like false sense of urgency around, because the other thing that the question that goes on for me is it's a complimentary event. So what does it mean to be the guest?
Right.
To be the coaches, because it's already free.
Right. And we may be missing something here. So if the coach,
absolutely,
right, like we're basing this on what we're seeing. But yes, Amber, that's a really good point. Yeah.
And the other thing I would say is this is also inviting people into a group is different than inviting them into individual. And so it's just good to keep that in mind. You know, if you go back and if you get the recording and listen to what Carolyn said around how she might personalize it, I don't recommend doing something like that for individual clients.
No. Right.
Yeah.
And I love, like, this is a great thing, right? Like, I love the energy of it's going to be a warm evening. It's going to be this environment. And I love doing events like this and groups, especially because you can invite differently. You know, I like to say, and I said this often in the USM coaching program, much to people's disturbance, I would be like, what's great about filling a group or an event, you can shame people, you can tease them, you can harass them. You can't do that with an individual client. That would not be okay. But I don't mind if there's somebody I want at an event, I don't mind writing to them and being like, hey, what are you doing? You have not signed up yet. What is wrong with you? You're going to miss this. Now, I can do that if I know them, if there's context for the relationship, right? If you don't have any relationship, that would be highly inappropriate. However, if you have a relationship, it can be really fun to be bold in this context. Like, I don't want to stalk you, but I want you there. I don't want you to miss this. It's like, if we don't take a stand for our work, nobody will. Nobody will. So let's do this. Let's see. Is there anybody who has a question on this? And then Amy, let me know if I should unshare for the moment.
It looks like Julie Ireland asked a question in the chat.
Okay.
She may ask it. She may raise her hand. I don't know.
Stop.
But it says, Carolyn and Amber, what are your thoughts about the subject line? Good catch.
You know, I don't have a strong feeling about the subject line. Are you ready to say hi to yourself again? You know, it's, I don't know. I mean, that's a great question. Amber, do you want to talk about that?
I mean, it can certainly be a way to, because the point of a subject line, and this is just, it sounds strange, but I didn't know this for a long time. The whole point of a subject line is to get somebody to open the email.
That's it.
Period. And so if that's a way to hook someone to get them to open it up, great. When I first read that, again, we're reading this without a lot of context. I don't know that subject line would make me open it up.
That's really the only bar, right? The only bar we have for a subject line is, does it get you to open it? And that's the question everyone should be asking when they're crafting an email and crafting a subject line. It's like, would I open this? Would this make me want to open it? Most of the time, people are putting way too much information in their subject lines, and then no one wants to open it because it's like, oh, I don't want to open that. I know what's in there. So I like being playful with subject lines. I like, Steve Chandler used to say this to Michelle and I, like the purpose of a subject line is you want to drive someone insane with curiosity. Insane. And I love that. And when I worked at the University of Santa Monica, Dr. Mary Hulnick would say to me, don't ever do that. We're not driving people insane, which was accurate in that context, right? It's like, that was where we were sharing about a master's degree in spiritual psychology. So the context was different. But in this context, in coaching, go for it. Have fun. Any other questions on this one, or we'll go to the next email?
And there's a way to raise your hand if you're on the computer. If you go to participants, it's at the bottom of the video screen, and then on the right-hand side, you'll see everyone on the line, and you can click raise hand, and that will let us know that you have a question. And Kendra says in the chat, I love Steve Chandler's simple approach for something personal like this. 2X from Y. You've said that before too, Carolyn and Amber.
Yep. All right, let's go to the next one. All right. Are you seeing it, Amber? I'm just checking.
No.
All right.
I want to go back to see where it says share. Click
Yep.
that.
Oh, there we go. All right. We did it.
Nicely done.
I know. All right. Email number 2. This is a little bit longer, but all of you are seeing it. I'll read it just because it'll make it easier for everyone. Hi, X. I really enjoyed Tuesday's working lunch. I love that you've created the opportunity for people to connect, share ideas, and enjoy delicious food. What you, Chris, and Andrew have created in a short space of time is inspiring, and it is clear that there is still more you want to achieve. I've heard you saying that you recognize the need to pause and take some time to reflect on where you are and where you're going, and to give yourselves some space to do that. You thought that a retreat might be helpful for that, and maybe it would be, or maybe it's something else. I also heard you say that it's not always easy managing the dynamics of 3 people in a partnership who all have different styles, approaches, and ambitions. And you talked about the additional responsibilities of being a mom to 3 small children and trying to strike a balance between being in the business and being there for them. It can be challenging to work through all that yourself and have the clarity and focus you need to grow the business in a sustainable way. That is where I can be of service to you, XXX. I'd love to invite you to a coaching conversation. What that looks like is 90 minutes in a place where we won't be disturbed to explore what's going on for you right now. How would you like things to be, and what you need to support you in getting there? My intention is to gift you some time and space where we can dive deeper into some of the challenges that you shared with me. This will help you gain insight and have greater clarity on where to focus your energy, time, and attention moving forward. I don't know what will come out of that conversation, but what I know is that when people have that time and space with no interruptions, amazing possibilities can emerge. Is that something you'd like to experience? It's totally okay to say no thanks, but if a yes, then here are some dates, times I can offer. Dates, let me know either way, warm wishes. All right, so it looks like from this email that there's been a communication already, right? Some conversation has taken place because the coach is sharing, right? Here's what I heard you say. Here's what's happening. That can be really helpful. Now, it doesn't look like, because they say, I'd love to invite you to a coaching conversation, it doesn't look like the prior communication was technically that. Maybe it was a social setting. Maybe they spent some time talking. That's what it looks like to me. So in this communication, it seems to me like there needs to be more context. For me, the line where it says, that is where I can be of service to you, that for me would go onto the slime meter. All right. That has a quality of, I'm telling you what I can do for you. And the moment I read that, I disconnect, because and everyone's different how they respond to this. So this is my internal. I'd be like, well, how do you know you can be of service to me? Who are you to say you can be of service to me? Now, what we don't want, no matter what, whether it's me or someone else, we don't want people to disconnect when they're reading something from us. See, it's like the moment someone perceives, even if it's not accurate, that I'm trying to tell them something of a way I can help them, it can push people out. They just go away. So that, number one, would be a sentence I would recommend, take it out. The other thing here is, I'd love to invite you to a coaching conversation. Now, this is something that many coaches have already heard me say, and maybe someone can guess what might be the word in that sentence that might be social self / slime. Can anyone tell me? I'll read the sentence again. I'd love to invite you to a coaching conversation. Do we have an answer?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Love.
Right. We don't ever, this is especially, we don't really want to be using that word in a prospective client situation. Even if it's someone you know really well and you love them, this is a professional context. And the moment we say to someone, I'd love to invite you to a coaching conversation, it's like, I don't want to diminish someone's enthusiasm. And that sentence, if we were to ask, who is that about? Who is that about? It's about the person writing it. I'd love to invite you to a coaching conversation. It's about me, what I would love. And that's not what we want our communications focused on. We want it focused on the person. So it might be like, I have something I'd like to invite you to. And this is a conversation where you can absolutely say no. And I want to share with you, the reason I'm inviting you is because of what I see in you and what I heard you sharing about. So I don't want to tell someone what the conversation will do for them. So if you see the sentence where it says, this will help you gain insight and have greater clarity on where to focus your energy, time, and attention moving forward. Again, it's another sentence where we're telling someone what's going to happen. And it's selling. It really is just selling. And we want to take that stuff out. So we want to really simplify here. Like if it were me and I was coaching this person, I would really strip all of that out and say something super simple. Like, I'd like to extend an invitation for you to come sit with me inside a coaching conversation where we could do a deeper dive into everything that you talked about. And this time would be solely for you, and we can use it for anything you want. Now, the part where the coach said, is that something you'd like to experience? It's totally okay to say no thanks. I probably would not put the dates in yet. See, it's like we want to take it one step at a time. So I want to say to someone, is having a conversation something you would like to do? Totally fine to say no. Let me know either way. I don't want to put dates in yet because it can feel like too much too soon. Too much too soon. So this is a lot of me talking. I want to see, are there questions? Let's open it up and see if anybody has questions about this.
I'll just say, as we're waiting, the date part, that sentence that this is where I can be of service to you, it's like we're making an assumption that I can help you. And the dates are also an assumption that of course you'll want to talk to me.
Yeah.
And even though we're saying it's okay to say no, there's still this thread of, and that's why it's, because we want to respect that person may have no desire to talk to us, to hear from us, to work through this. They might be completely fine. And so we want to give them the dignity to say no.
Yeah. And I appreciate that, Amber, the subtlety in that. We don't ever want to assume we can really help someone. We really don't know until we sit with them. And I think that's one of the things Steve Chandler has modeled so incredibly over the course of his career. Look, most people assume Steve could help them, but he doesn't. Right? He'll say to someone, I don't know if I can help you. Let's have a conversation and find out. He's never walking in with well, of course, I've talked to how many people, I can help you. There is none of that. There's always like, I don't know. Let's talk. And there's an incredible sense of, first of all, there's a total lack of ego in that, right? There's no like, I'm the godfather of coaching. I've got this. I could help you all day long. I could help the entire planet. He's really like, I don't know. And it makes it more possible for someone to want to talk to him, because he's really saying, I'm just a regular person. Let's see if I can help. I thought I saw a hand go up. Oh, I see it. All right. So Debbie, go for it.
Hi, it's really helpful. Thank you. So in the email when the coach, laid out what they talked about, I thought that was good, and it felt like a lot. And I'm wondering if you could just comment on that, like the balance of sort of pulling out like the key points, but not like overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Thanks.
I'm going to say this, and I'm sensitive, right? Because see, part of becoming a coach is learning your own voice as a coach, right? Like I know a woman who's a coach, and she is a beautiful writer. I mean, really, it's like when Michelle and I were coaching her, we would get these emails from her, and we would just text each other, did you get that email? I'm saving that. Like, that's so incredibly written. Now, her emails were long. They were amazing, though. Like, truly amazing. And like, if I was someone she was writing to, I would want it. It wouldn't matter to me how long they are. So some of this is about finding your voice. And for some people, the length won't matter. Right? They're truly beautiful writers that they know how to really captivate someone. It's just natural to them. Yeah. By and large, I think it's good to be sensitive to length, especially in the world we live in now. Unfortunately, we're in a world where our ability to give attention is being eroded by all the demands on our attention, phones, social media. It's like we've become a society, or we are, where our attention is getting much more diminished. So I'm sensitive to how much someone is going to read. So I always look over my emails, and I send long emails, as many of you know, and sometimes they're too long, and that's okay. And I know it. It's like, but I would invite coaches to really look at, who's this for? Before you hit send, who is this communication for? Would I want to get this? Would I feel seen and heard? So that's my response to that, Debbie. Thank you. It's a really good question.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go on to the next one, because we have some other fun ones. All right. Okay. So here we go. This is a good one. All right. So this is the third one. Hi, person. It was great to work with you yesterday, and I'm sensing that you're ready and committed to change. That's the only place to come from to be successful in this work. In our next session, let's take a closer look at some of the fears that seem to be holding you back. You mentioned that you're afraid of asking for jobs because people might say no. That's a fear of rejection, and we can work on this. You also mentioned that I'm too old. That's a belief, and we can also work on that. Please choose either 1, the fear of rejection, or 2, the belief I'm too old, to work on in our next session. I'll use Byron and Katie's The Work Processing Tool. I'm a massive fan of her work. I use it regularly on myself and my clients, and I've completed her School for the Work in the USA. You can find out more about Katie by visiting her website below. Here's my favorite Byron Katie coaching session to watch on YouTube. I'm Not Living Up to My Full Potential, the work of Byron Katie. For homework, please watch the video below. To learn more about how coaching works, for homework, please listen to this audio that my coach and mentor, Steve Chandler, made. It's called Why Would I Hire a Coach? You can download the file by clicking here. I'm looking forward to our session. I'll call you on WhatsApp, Thursday, etc. Please email or text me in the meantime if you have questions. All right. So Um, I would say that there's a lot going on here in this communication. Number one, I like a lot that the coach really captured some of the fears, that they're reflecting back, and this is obviously a follow-up to a conversation that they've already had. So this is a setup for the next session. That's what I see. The pieces that tend to kind of go into the slime meter, if we were to I'm going to have the next time we do this kind of call, I'm going to have a thing that I can hit. It's like bing, 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 bing. It's a 5 out of 10. Is this stuff that we get into about Byron Katie. It feels a little, it's like I'm trying to teach someone something. I don't know that it's necessary. It's like people use Byron Katie's work as coaches. That's fantastic. And it could be much simpler. So please choose either the fear of rejection or the belief I'm too old to work on in our next session. Period. You could have done that, and it would be like, you don't even need to share that you're going to use Byron Katie's The Work. I mean, you could do that in the call, as you set it up. We're going to work on, which one did you choose? I chose the fear of rejection. Great. We're going to be using a tool that I've been trained in by Byron Katie. I wouldn't put it in the email, only because it feels, again, like you're trying to prove something, right? Look at me. I'm the coach who has training in this. Now, I'm not saying that was the intention here, right? So I want to be really clear. I'm telling you what it could feel like. The other piece for consideration here is I would not put anything about find out more about Katie. I wouldn't give my favorite YouTube. If you want to have homework, please watch the below video. It will show you some of the way this works. The next one, to learn more about how coaching works. Why would I hire a coach? That is a direct, maybe a 9 out of a 10 on salesy. Because in a way, who's that for? It's very self-serving. Now, it may not be intended that way. And I want to be clear, this person may be but this person knows nothing about coaching, and I want them to understand it. And we just need to really look at, what's my intention here? Who's that for? And I'm going to let Amber share a little bit more, because she and I talked about this one a little bit.
I mean, I love this so much. And I just I want to say again, everyone who submitted an email, I just acknowledge you. You're incredibly courageous. I mean, there's so many people that are learning through your willingness to share, not just you. So thank you. And this is how we learn. Carolyn has a saying, coaching is on the job training or on the job learning. And it's through our willingness to mess up, and I say that in quotes, that we actually go, oh, this is what I could do instead. Because to me, so much of coaching is, I don't know what I don't know until I know it. And how we know it is usually by a coach who's further down the line saying, hey, here's option, you could do this instead. And so, great that this person submitted this, great that they're invested in their training and they love Byron Katie's work. I echo everything that Carolyn says. And the thing that stands out to me is, if the fears that came up in the session, and I'm just going to tell it like it is, how I see it, and it may not resonate, and that's completely fine. But if the fears that came up in the session were the fear of rejection or the belief that I'm too old, in a way, I want to start getting into the work of that now. I don't even know that I would bring it up in an email, because I would have because coaching it's not somebody understanding the concept of it. It's somebody living it in their lives and them experiencing the shift that goes on inside of themselves. And so I would be looking at how, if fear of the rejection was really present, I might give them an assignment that's around addressing that fear. I don't know, I wasn't in it. But to me, explaining of the work or explaining of what coaching is, then we get into telling versus showing, right? And we could talk all day long about playing the piano, but until we're actually playing the piano, we don't get the experience of what that feels like inside. And that to me is really what this email is about. It's saying, it's giving the information rather than helping the person start to live into it in their lives. And then the last thing that I would say is, the coach says, I'll call you on WhatsApp. Is that okay, Carolyn? If I knew you would address it.
Yeah.
But I never have my prospective clients or clients, I don't call them. They call me. And Carolyn can talk more about this, about like sort of the power dynamic in that. But to me, really where that comes from is that person wants to change their lives. Right? They're the person that wants something. And so they have to work harder than me. Right? If I'm calling them, then it's like, I want something from them. I want them to be available. And it's like, no, you call me if you want something, if this kind of conversation where we're going is helpful.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Amber, I'm glad you brought that up, because obviously that stood out to me. And I'll explain this in the simplest way possible. In our culture, the person who makes the call is the one who wants something. The person who makes the call is the one who wants something. So we want the client to make the call, or the prospective client. And from a purely functional perspective, because I've been in situations where a prospective client says, great, call me at etc. And coaches always say, well, what do I do? And I write back and I say, here's what we're going to do. You call me, here's the number, and you'll call me because then I know you're ready to go. So there's always a way to say, you're going to place the call because then I know you're ready to go. Now, have I ever placed a call? I have, right? Like, because it's not a total rule 100% of the time, right? Have I? I have. And by and large, the client makes the call. And the other, I'm going to call this one out too. Now, this is all nuance, and it reminds me of a thing that happened with Michelle, with Steve. I'm looking forward to our session.
Oh.
Now, that could be, it's very gracious, right? Like, what's wrong with that, Carolyn? How is that slimy? And I remember Michelle was in a communication with a prospective client, and I saw all her emails to Steve, our coach, and she wrote, like, I'm looking forward to talking. And Steve wrote back and said, how do you know you're looking forward to talking? You haven't even spoken to them yet. Like, why would you say you're looking forward to talking? That's the most social self thing you could absolutely say, that you are looking forward to talking. It's about you. Michelle, we were stunned, right? Because it seemed so innocuous. And Steve was really making a point. Like, as the coach, it's not necessary. And I remember he said to Michelle, look, I know that you are remarkably warm and loving. Save it for when they're your client. Save it for after they've paid you their money and you're serving them. Like, don't, like, really be clean in this. So again, this is not a message of you can never say, I'm looking forward to talking with you. It's just about awareness, right? Every sentence is, who is this for? It's a great training. All right, let's open it up to see if there's questions.
In the chat, there are a couple of things.
Okay.
Carolyn Zeal said, I'm wondering if this is a follow-up email for a session. Maybe the coach might mention these things, Byron, Katie, Steve, Chandler, etc. And then in the email, say, here are the links to some of the things I mentioned in our session.
Right? That could totally be it. That could totally be it.
But then you would just say, here are the links that I mentioned in our session, versus the whole thing about, those two.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to unmute you, Julie. I see you have a question.
Can you see me too?
Hey.
Hello.
Nice
Hi, everyone. So great to see you. So I had a question about the first line. So it was great to work with you. Like, that also kind of caught me. Like, I wasn't sure, first of all, is this someone who's already a client, because I wasn't sure if it, okay. So it was great to work with you. Like, I'm just curious, like, your thoughts on that, because it caught me as like, well, yeah, especially if it's a prospective client, they haven't done that yet.
I think they have. I think this was a second conversation they were setting up. So I want to comment on that, Julie, because I think it's a great question. Because I think about this a lot. And remember, the intention of today is to not drive you insane so that anytime you all go to write an email, you're thinking, I'm doing it wrong. I can't do it. Okay. This is about maybe you take one thing from today's call and you start to play with it. Because we want you to find your voice and be relaxed and creative. If we really slow it down now, though, it was great to work with you. There's nothing wrong with it. However, would it be more powerful to say you demonstrated extraordinary willingness on our call yesterday? You really showed up, and I was so struck by the way you showed up yesterday on the first call we had.
I love it.
Right? Because we really want, it's like, I want, ideally, and sometimes my communications don't do this, but I really want the person I'm writing to after we've had a first call to really feel like, wow, like people don't know how to, like when people show up for their first coaching call, and I mean enrollment conversation, most people don't know how to do it, right? They've never been asked questions where they expose themselves most of the time, right? Most people are not like, oh, I've been coached 8 million times, I know how to do this. Most people are new to this profession as recipients. So I always want to take time to acknowledge the way they showed up, something specific. So I appreciate, Julie, that you're like, what about that line? There's nothing wrong with it, right? Like, it was great to work with you is perfectly fine. And we could say, well, that's really about the coach. And it's not about the recipient.
And what about the more kind of like standard, like it was a pleasure speaking with you? You know, like I see that a lot.
Yeah, listen, I don't, again, it leans on into social, and what does it tell them?
Yeah.
See, I think independent of, let's say it's not slimy. Let's take it off the slime meter. What is it saying? Is it really saying anything? Like in our communications as coaches, we have opportunities to communicate with someone things they've never heard before, ever, about themselves. And I invite all of us to really slow down and be like, what do I want to say to this person that I noticed? What do I want to say that would be meaningful? Because we can all say all day long, it was a pleasure to talk to you. We can all do that. And I think we could do better. We can be more descriptive.
And specific.
And specific.
That's super helpful.
Even if it's like, I love how you challenged me yesterday. I mean, I wouldn't use the word love, delete. I appreciate how you challenged me yesterday. You asked really tough questions, and that was inspiring. And I acknowledge you for being willing to push back on this conversation around fear. You know, it can be anything. Is that helpful?
So helpful. Thank you.
All right. Good to see you.
In the chat, Kendra says, it felt too fast for me versus keeping engagement along the way between calls. Can you address, is this just a preference?
Say that again, Amber, so I can hear it.
Yep. It felt too fast for me versus keeping engagement along the way between calls.
You know, I don't know, because I don't know what fast means. I mean, I think, again, we have to remember we right now are getting like, this is such an unusual thing to all be together looking at one coach's email, right? And it's like, maybe, but maybe not. I don't know is my answer. If it's too fast, it's like, it's hard to know, and it could be. And it could be. I mean, go ahead.
You go. No, you go. I was going to go to the next one.
I'm thinking back to the emails that I would get from Steve and Michelle would get from Steve, like after, like when we were early in the days of just talking to him. I mean, he would write these incredible emails that were so, and it's really where I learned how to do this. It was remarkable the things he would reflect to me or to Michelle. And it never felt fast. I felt like he took all the time in the world to write it. And I think that's something we all want to experience, right? By someone who's engaging with us. We want to feel like, wow, they spent wow, they really thought about me.
beautiful. Is it okay if I read the next?
Yeah.
Carrie Doubts, great reminder to keep it about them, not me, and replacing the social nice padding that goes into an email all too easily with something that could be life-changing. It does take slowing down. Thanks
It
for the
does.
reminder.
Right, Carrie. And what I also think, like, think about quotes and poems. I just sent a poem the other day to a prospective client. And it was so fun to be like, I was so bored with myself. I was like, I am so bored. I need to do something different. And I looked up poems and I thought that poem is about where that guy is. And I took the poem and put it in, and that was my follow-up. And I said, this poem reminds me of our entire conversation. So you could do anything, anything. All right, let's go to the next one. I'm really getting this down, boy, the sharing of screens. I'm so proud of myself. All right. Hi, XX. It was wonderful to talk with you yesterday. Thank you for sharing your life experience and dreams with me. I can see clearly that you, like me, have a deep desire to fully live and use your life and your art, being and doing what you're great at, and being and doing what you love in service to others and in service to the world. To experience your greatest joys and be of greatest service. By coming from that mission alone, you are helping the world to become the best version of itself. Can you see that? How incredible does that feel? You absolutely will make a very good living at that, beyond making very good money when you really want to. In fact, you're already doing it. You're already creating it. You're simply rising up to another level, maybe in more ways than one. I've been reflecting on all you shared yesterday. It was all great information and helpful for me to know how I can best help you. I always trust that what is created in a coaching session is exactly what is needed in the moment. And I'm excited to support you further next week when we do some real powerful coaching. I sense that you are too. So let's get that on the calendar for you. Let's allow 90 minutes for this if you can make that work during your workday. Here are my next 2 openings next week for you to choose from. I'm holding both of these until I hear from you. Let me know as soon as you can. Also below are the short audios I mentioned that I suspect will support you right where you are right now and in keeping moving forward. They are 2 powerful distinctions that I have come to utilize every day in my own life, and they've made the biggest difference for my coaching clients. You agreed to listen to these audios at least twice. Once for information, more than once for transformation, and send me a few brief bullet points about what stood out to you the most. Feel welcome to ask any questions too. I'm looking forward to our next conversation. In the meantime, let me know how I might assist you in your job with Disney next week. The way I see it, it's really more than just another job. You'll want to see this next project as continuing to build a relationship with a paying client of your art. You and your art are serving them, which serves the world. Love and blessings. All right. So we're going to slow it down and let's talk about the slime meter. All right. Everyone's going to be so disturbed after this call. They're going to be like, never again. I'm never going to do any call of this nature. Like the slime webinar will live in infamy as a really not fun experience. That's not my intention, FYI. So we've already talked about, it was wonderful to talk with you yesterday. Again, nothing wrong with it. It's more like, what does that really mean? Thank you for sharing your life experiences and dreams with me. So let's talk about thanking people. We don't ever want to thank people in this context. Now you may think, well, Carolyn, why not? I'm being gracious. When we thank someone, it's like there's a funny role reversal that occurs. Like we're thanking them for talking to us. When we're the coach, we're serving them. So, Steve used to say it this way to Michelle and I, they should be thanking you. What are we talking? Why are you thanking them? And I invite all of you to really look at that. No more thanking people for talking to you, right? There's a lot of it's about me in this first paragraph. I can see clearly that you, like me, have a deep desire to fully live and use your life and your art. Now, one way you could really modify that is simply like, I can see that you have a deep desire to fully live and use your life and your art. It could be, it's like, I would take out anything that has to do with me as the coach. Anything. I have a question around, and you absolutely will make a very good living at that, beyond making very good money. I'm like, do we know that? Like, I don't ever want to say to someone, you're gonna make $1 million as a coach. You're gonna nail it. I never want to do that, because I don't know. I have no idea. So I'm really cautious about saying you will absolutely make a very good living, because we're not psychics and we don't want to pretend to be psychic. We don't know. This line of, I always trust that what is created in a coaching session is exactly what is needed in the moment. I would offer, like, that's about the coach. It's like, it's about what I trust as the coach. I'm not sure it's relevant to the person. I'm excited to support you further next week when we do some real powerful coaching. I'm not sure, does that mean what occurred before it wasn't powerful coaching? Is it different? Just a question. And then this line, I sense that you are too. I don't know that I would say that to someone, because I don't know. Do I know that? Who's that for? I always want to be looking like, who's that for? Who is this communication for? Is it for me? Who's the one who wants something? Then the dates on the calendar. This sentence, here are my next 2 openings next week for you to choose from. Now, this is minor, and it's something that I really work with coaches on. Less words. Like, of course they're going to choose from them. We don't need to say, here are my next 2 openings next week for you to choose from. It's like, we want to really look at, like, here are my next 2 openings, colon. Now, I know that seems like, well, Carolyn, you're getting kind of persnickety. Like, wow, you're so grumpy about this stuff. And I'm not grumpy. It's like, this is an opportunity to learn to be better writers. And this is the kind of thing that I do with coaches all day long on the Facebook page, on the coaches I coach individually. And honestly, 99% of the time, the coaches are really grateful. And 1% of the time, they're like, rah, rah, why did she tell me that? Do you want to share anything about this, Amber? Why don't you take the rest of this one?
I'm holding both of these for you until I hear from you. That one, this is just me personally, but that one stands out to me. It feels like pressure. Of course, to me, I want to assume that I'm going to hear from them because we just had this beautiful transformational session. And then if I don't hear from them, I'm going to follow up and say, did you get this? So that felt pressury to me. And then in general, with email correspondence, in particular with people who are newer to coaching or newer to me and the experience of me working with them, in an email, I really want to think about what's the focus of the email. Like, what do I want them to do? And so with that, the reason I'm bringing this up is I would end it after the dates. I would not give the resources yet. Because if people get too much information in an email all at once, it's like they can get confused. They'll move on to listening to the audios and then forget to respond about the time. And then I'm holding these dates for them and I haven't heard from them. So to me, for what I gather from this exchange is I want to set up the next conversation. That's the want here. And so I would end it at that point. And then once I heard back from them, once that new date is set, I would send them the audios and say, to support you in getting the most out of our next conversation, listen to these. So that it feels just a little bit too much in this one email to me.
And then everybody also sees, I'm looking forward to our next conversation. So in the slime realm, it's like, who's that for? Like, who are we saying that to? Is that for me? Is that for them? Does it matter? All right, let's open it up. Let's see if people have questions, thoughts, want coaching. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. Anybody? All right. Going once, going twice on that. Anybody have a question or a thought?
Oh, something's
I saw
people are
someone.
popping up in the, yeah.
How would you,
Slowing it to, you're seeing them. Okay, great.
no. Can you tell me, Amber?
Yes. So Natalie's asking, how would you recommend that we conclude an email if we aren't saying, I look forward to our next convo?
Good question, Natalie. Ding, ding, ding. Here's a radical idea for everyone. You just say, here are my options. Regards, Carolyn. Here are the options. Regards, Carolyn. Let me know if you have any questions, Carolyn. I've done that. I've done that. You don't have to have anything. It can literally be, here are the dates. Regards, Carolyn. Sometimes I'll do an acknowledgement. Like sometimes I'll say, here are the dates. Amber, I want to just say again how much I appreciated how vulnerable you were. Know that I really am thinking of you and I'm admiring you. I might do that. I might acknowledge them again. Again, and it's not a requirement. I know it's so uncomfortable, by the way. When we did this part at the University of Santa Monica, this is one of my favorite stories. We threw up emails on PowerPoint, and one of the coaches who was also an actor, she's an actor, and she raised her hand. Now, again, no corporate background, a great coach. And she's like, so are you saying that when I sign my emails, ciao, XXXOOO, that's like too social? We laughed so hard. It was one of the best moments. And we were like, yeah, it's a little social. You might want to not do that. When I've coached coaches who are from South America or Latin America, they're very used to culturally being like, ciao, XX, very social. So some of this stuff shows up in our communications based on our cultural background, right? What we're used to doing. So you don't need to end an email with anything special. It can literally be, here are the next dates, regards, Natalie. It could be, here are the next dates. Let me know if you have questions, or here are the next dates, and some kind of acknowledgement for their willingness to consider themselves, anything. Is that helpful?
Natalie says yes.
All right.
There's a Gabriella Miller says, I have a question. So Gabriella, if you want to raise your hand or if you want to unmute yourself so that we can talk. Oh, there she is.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I think I've realized listening to this that my emails are very slimy.
Good for you.
All right.
Awareness is the first step.
Applause.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
So now I'm just trying to get the right balance of being like warm and not cold, or I guess different to how I was in the coaching session.
That's so
but
great.
Still professional.
Yes.
I wonder if you could speak.
Yeah. So some of it, Gabriella, it's such a great thing to realize, oh, wow, I'm being too slimy. I'm being too social. It can be helpful for your next email. Here's my suggestion. You write it the way you normally would. Okay? You're going to write it. Don't hold back. Be slimy. And then I want you to reread it. And I want you to think about, okay, where are the sentences where this is more social self or it's about me? And I'm going to pull those out one by one, right? Wherever I can see it, I'm going to pull it out. And then I'm going to reread it. And I'm going to look at it and I'm going to go, ooh, does this feel really cold now? Like I'm so not used to doing it with less of that. And then add one sentence back in just to make yourself feel better. And be like, all right, I'm starting. See, it's like, how can I be 5% less slimy? Just 5%. It's like baby step it. And then what we're going to do, just so you know, so everybody knows, we'll just share about it now, is that although we did get great emails and we're going to review them, we're going to allow for the next week, any of you that are here, any of you that are watching the recording, you have a week. We will review any email you send. So Gabriella, you can send us a draft
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wow.
Send us a draft and we will write back and say, hey, this is what one of us will respond, either myself or Amber, and we will give you coaching so that you can start to see and learn, how do I dial it back, but still communicate my warmth, because that's important.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Oh, look at that. Amy Ruby, our fabulous director, is like, see? And we'll make it just because that's how generous we are here. You have till midnight. Midnight, October 1st.
11:59 p.m.
Oh, thank you. 11:15. Amber wants it to be 11:59, Amy. Look at her. So
Just because technically midnight on October 1st is like the,
Right. Agreed. We're all about precision here. So any email. So Gabriella, will you send us one to look at?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. And play with it. Like, try it out and send us your experiment, okay?
I will do. Thanks.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Is there any other questions on that one?
I don't know if there were questions on that one. There was a question that came in from Andrew.
Okay.
And he says, what about a cold call email to someone you admire but don't know, who is a niche you serve and want to serve?
I love that.
And he says, any suggestions?
So a question is, you know them in any capacity, or are you like observing them from afar via social media? From afar. That gets tricky, right? Because that does land in the territory of cold. However, that does not mean you should not put yourself forward, right? Because if I admire someone and I'm really like, I think I could coach Lizzo. I think I could coach Lizzo. It doesn't matter that I want to be Lizzo, right? Because I do secretly. But if I want to coach Lizzo, and I think I could help her, by the way, I do. I think I could help her. I can write to her. And if I'm going to write to her, Andrew, I want it to be real and I want to acknowledge it. A coach just sent me something. I can't remember what it was for, but it was someone they really admired. And I said, go for it. Now it may take time, right? Like I may send one email, but Lizzo gets a lot of communications. So I might need to send a communication a month that's like, hey, Lizzo, I saw your last interview. And wow, I was so struck by what you said. And I want you to know I'm really paying attention to everything you're saying. And I don't know if you have someone in your life who you can talk to and ask questions of and get assistance on at this next phase you're at. Steve did something like this. There was a guy, he was like a wrestler and a writer. And Steve literally wrote to him every month. And he would send him things about his writing. And like, I think it was 6 months later or 9 months later, the guy was finally like, all right, like, I want to talk to you. And he became Steve's client. So Andrew, I'm in favor of us being bold, and especially if there's someone we really want to serve. And we need to really slow down and be thoughtful and be creative and be willing to stick with it. Like with someone like Lizzo, it's going to take me more than one communication, I'm guessing, to show her that I'm intending to serve her. Because people who are, I don't know if your person, Andrew, is like in the public eye or someone who's known, but those kind of people, everybody wants something from them. They're all being pulled on, right? So we want to be different. Like, I don't have attachment to whether I ever serve Lizzo. And that has to come through in every communication I make, that I'm not attached, that I don't want something from her. Is that helpful?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
All right. Cool. All right, let's do the next one because there's some good ones I want to make sure we get to.
Angela, we'll get to your question. Don't worry.
All right. This is a series of communications. And I so admire the coach who was like, please look at this. It went badly. Please, I need help. So bravo to you, coach. All right. So this is a back and forth. Dear coach, hope all is well with you. I need to reschedule our call on Thursday as I have a client call that can only be done at that time. Big apologies. Speak soon. The coach responds, hi, person. No worries at all. I can do the 25th or 26th. London time, let me know if any of these work for you. Oh, and I received your recommendation. It's beautiful and fresh and sweet. I loved it. Thank you so much from my heart, Coach. Hi, Coach. I can't do either of those. Sorry. It's a bit full on till 21st of October because of speaking gigs and client stuff. In between, I'm preparing and selling. Can we leave it till then? All right. So here's the coach's response. Hi, YYY. Yes, we can, with a caveat though. I want you to have a look at all your upcoming activities until the 21st of October very carefully and from a different angle this time, as if you were an external auditor, a fierce, ruthless auditor. Are all of these activities worth your time? Have similar activities in the past helped you move to the direction we talked about in our sessions? What is client stuff? ? Can anyone else take care of this? Are all these activities more likely to get you closer to the dream corporate client than some other activity, like fully leveraging your network of raving fans? I'm asking these difficult questions because I'm supposed to guard your time and hold your vision. That's my work. Also, from experience, if my next session with someone is 1 month out, I need to start all over again. We've lost momentum. It's the same when you skip the gym for a month, and now you have momentum. So the answer is no, we can't. I can't afford to speak with you in a month. Please do the auditing and give me a few options as to when we can meet, even for 30 minutes. I'll try to make it work in my calendar too. XXX Coach. All right, here's the response. Hi, Coach. I was a little surprised by your email on a number of counts. I've never agreed to a coaching arrangement with you or asked you to hold me to account. I hope the 2 conversations you had with me has given you an insight that I do know what I'm doing, having run my own business for over 20 years. Every activity I prioritize is IPA, income producing activity that takes me closer to my goal of more clients' revenue. All right, I'm not going to read all of these because basically the person did not like what the coach said, right? Now, the thing that we want to look at is the last one. Every time I have a call with you, it's 2 hours, and I simply can't give this priority status over my sales IPA, which has to take priority and needs to be squeezed in between client delivery when I'm busy with that. I hope you treat this as feedback and take it in the spirit which is given. I feel you've overstepped boundaries on this occasion. I like you, and I think you're enthusiastic and sincerely want to help. You are not what I need right now, so let's just leave it there. Wishing you success and happiness. Now, here's the coach's response. Every word in my previous email was coming from the space of love, every single word. As I said to you in one of our conversations, I'm the last person in the world who will tell you what to do with your business. The 2 conversations we've had show me that you're a direct person who deals with direct people. In my message, I was 100% direct, and as you said, with all the intention to help from my heart. I fell in love with the challenges you have in what you do, and it was great to have these deep conversations together, trying to come up with crazy ideas. Apologies if I crossed any lines, i.e. your first bullet point. I just wanted to be of service 100%. Thank you for sharing your agenda and all of these great things you're up to. If you still want to chat with me in the future, I'm always here for you. With love and kindness and smiles and lots of spirulina powder, Coach. All right. So, in service to being direct, I think it's really clear. We have a lot of slime going on here. Unknowing, but a lot of slime. So the first email that the client sent, Dear Coach, hope all is well with you. I need to reschedule our call. Big apologies, speak soon. Now, the first thing I would notice is that this person is not saying, can we reschedule? Like, I need to reschedule our call at that time. Big apologies, speak soon. I'd start to look at, does this person really want this? Like, there's sort of a question inside of me as soon as I see that. That's just a no. Doesn't mean that they didn't. They did say, I need to reschedule, but there's something in the tone of what they wrote that starts to make me wonder. So the response, no worries at all. Now that's a total social self sentence. No worries at all. We can just eliminate that. The coach could have written, Dear YYY, here are 2 new options. Let me know if any of these work for you, exclamation point. Total social self, total people pleasing, right? Unnecessary. Let me know if any of these work for you. Of course, they're going to let you know. Now, here's the thing. This whole sentence. Oh, and I received your recommendation. It's beautiful and fresh and sweet. I loved it. Thank you so much from my heart. Now, I don't know the recommendation. I mean, I don't know if it's like a testimonial. I would be very different in my thanking of someone for a testimonial. This has a gushiness to it that has a lot of social self in it. I'm guessing it could be more cultural, but I wouldn't ever have that much. It's beautiful and fresh and sweet. I loved it. Thank you so much from my heart. So if I got a recommendation from a prospective client, I'd say, I received your recommendation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to write it. It's excellent. Very simple. So here's the person, their response. I can't do either of those, sorry. It's a bit full till October 21st because of speaking gigs and client stuff. And in between, I'm preparing and selling. Can we leave it till then? Thanks. Now, I admire the person who wrote back and basically said, no, we can't leave it till then. I have a lot of admiration for the coaches like, that won't work. And if I really feel strongly about that, the way I would handle it is, dear so-and-so, let's hop on the phone for 15 minutes tomorrow and we'll figure this out. I might do that. And I might say to them then on the phone in a live conversation, I so appreciate you asking till October 21st. And I want to be straight with you. It's fine to say, let's not do this at all. And it won't help if we keep putting the calls out. Like, it just won't because of momentum. So let's just decide right now, maybe this is just a no-go. That's one way to handle it. In a prospective client situation, there's so much happening in this communication where there's telling, and there's so much room for the potential client to feel like the coach is making them wrong, or to feel like the coach is telling them things about themselves that may not be accurate. It's like there's so many, this whole section on, are these activities worth your time? Have similar activities in the past helped you move to the direction we talked about in our sessions? There's no permission. See, it's like if I want to write back to a prospective client and I want to maybe ask them something that could be uncomfortable, I need to ask first. If I'm going to dare to go there, I want to be like, dear Amber, I have something I want to ask you that might be uncomfortable. Let me know if it's okay. Totally fine to say no. So let's say Amber writes back, sure, I'm okay with it. I'm going to pick one question. One. There's a lot in here. It's like there are so many questions that could be perceived as confrontive. It's too much. So if I'm going to risk, and it is a risk, one question, and I want to ask permission. So it's not surprising to me that this person wrote back in the way they did, right? I was a little surprised. I've never agreed to a coaching arrangement with you or asked you to hold me to account. So that's really important. Right there, the person's like, I never gave you permission for this. Now, the great thing about getting an email like this, and it is great, massive learning. Like, this is called fast ramp to no more sliming. If you get the learning versus lots of emails over time. For me, this is like, boom, done, never again. As Steve Chandler once said to me, you cannot learn this in theory. You have to go through the pain of it. So this is painful, and there's great learning. So all of this, right, all the things they wrote, I'm going to really be direct with everybody. If I get an email like this, there's only one thing I want to say in response. Dear so-and-so, I am so sorry. Thank you so much for sharing all this with me. I apologize. I overstepped boundaries, and it wasn't okay. Know that I appreciate you. I appreciate you telling me, and I wish you the best. That's it. So the coach went into a lot of pseudo defending. The two conversations we've had, my intention was to help from my heart. I fell in love with the challenges you had. All of that is sort of trying to say, hey, I was just trying to help. We can't do that. Especially with a prospective client, and definitely with a client. If a client says to me, I don't like what you wrote to me, done. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that landed wrong for you. right? So if you look at the line, apologies if I crossed any lines. I just wanted to be of service 100%. That would fall, okay, if we're going to do like an apology rating, on a 1 to 10, a 10 is like a fabulous apology. I love apologies. And a 1 is like barely, like this is like a very weak, almost not an apology. And I'll share why. Apologies if I crossed any lines. The person said, you crossed lines. So it's not an if. You did it. To them, you did it. So the only response is, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I handled that really badly. Thank you for telling me. And then the final, this wins the award, by the way. This line wins the award for the most fabulous slimy sentence completion. With love and kindness and smiles and lots of spirulina powder. That is a perfect gem of a slimy, overly people-pleasing, trying to be liked sentence. And I admire you, Coach, that you did it, and we don't ever want to do it. This is definitely a rule. We never want to sign an email with love, kindness, smiles, and lots of spirulina powder with smiley faces and exclamation points. That is not a demonstration of a strong professional. It's a demonstration of wanting to be liked. And I totally can get it, and we don't want to do it, especially in an apology, right? It's like, I'm so sorry. I see what you're saying. I overstepped my boundaries. I apologize. Please accept my apologies. Warm regards. So that is a fantastic example of a really challenging communication, by the way. And by the way, bravo to the coach who responded. Because I know coaches who've ghosted people after this, right? They get a difficult communication from a prospective client and they go dark. They're like, I'm going away. I don't like this. Nah. They ghost a prospective client. Like I've had coaches write me and go, do I have to write back? Yes, you have to write back. You have to acknowledge them for telling you how it was for them. So bravo to you, coach. You wrote back. All right, let's open it up.
There's a question in the chat from Carolyn. She said, if you had that feeling up front, this is the I need to reschedule line. If you had that feeling up front, would you ask to speak with them in that first email?
What I might do, it's a great question. I might respond with, dear Amber, listen, I want this to be worthwhile for you. So we're only going to do this if this is something you really want to do. Totally fine to say, this is not the right time for me. Let me know either way. Before I send you new dates, let me know. Right? So I might test a little bit, right? I want to be like, no, it's fine. I want to let them know, I'm fine if you don't want to do this. This has to be a priority to you, not to me. Great. Anybody else?
Well, I was just going to give a little context.
Yeah.
Around that too is, you know, we had information. The coach had talked to this person twice, and this was a third conversation. In general, if a prospective client asks to reschedule, I tend to not push back. I'll
Agreed.
just offer new dates first time out. But if it's a pattern, you know, or if it's moving into the third, you know, then I might. So I just wanted to say that. So, because if you, yeah.
And this is a lot of this, by the way, this is an important piece that Amber's talking about. It's intuition, right? So if the tone I get back is saying to me inside, something doesn't seem quite right, why do I feel like I want to have this conversation with them more than they do? I want to pay attention to that. So this is intuitive. Some of this is learning how to read an email and go, something doesn't feel quite right. And I might say that. Something doesn't feel quite right. I want you to know, person, we don't have to do this. We totally don't have to do this. Let me know if you want more dates, and it's fine if this is just not for you. Please say so. So it's intuition too.
Kendra asked Carolyn too, how do you handle with the paying client? Phone call?
Meaning if they want to reschedule? It depends, right? I don't, you know, again, one reschedule, obviously, like I have agreements and we recommend make sure your clients know, right? Like, we don't reschedule unless there's an emergency, right? Like, I don't want to get an email from a client saying they need to reschedule because the next episode of Succession is on and they don't want to miss it, right? Like, that doesn't warrant a reschedule. It's like I want reschedules need to be so rare in my client situations that it's like, look, my daughter's really sick or I'm really sick. Reschedules are rare. So the only time I want to get on the phone with someone is if it's the second time they've rescheduled in the span of a month, and I want to be like, hey, what's happening? What's going on that you're rescheduling again? Because I want to let them know that's not a pattern we want to keep. Not because I'm the coach, but because it won't serve the coaching. Anybody else with a question?
Angelos had a question. He said, a question on point raised on a previous email. How do you explain what usually happens in a coaching conversation to invite someone who doesn't have a clue what coaching is? Can you give an elegant or short way to explain it?
I don't know that you can. And what sometimes I've seen coaches write is, this is a conversation where we can talk about anything you want, little or small. Any challenges in your personal life or professional life, or anything that you might want to create in your life. I try to keep it as simple as possible. Anything else? I want to see if we can get to that next one.
We got 6 minutes.
All right, let's do it. All right. Okay. So this is a great one. This is someone who wrote, so the coach wrote to them, and this is the person's response. Like I said in my last email, I'd love to see you and hear about what you're doing. I am still working for the broker's office that I started at in November after leaving my underwriting job at MetLife for 15 years. If you remember, I decided that I needed to get back into society after working from home for 5 years. I was going a little stir crazy. Anyway, I realized last fall, after being at this job almost 2 years, that I can't stay in this field and do this anymore. So I'm in the process of getting information together to go back to school part-time. All that being said, I'd love to have a coaching conversation because I have lots of challenges, but I wouldn't want to waste your time, as unfortunately, it's not something I can afford right now. So this is the draft they responded with. Hi, XXX. Thank you so much for sharing what's going on with you. It's great that you're feeling that level of clarity about your work life and that you know you want to make a change. That takes guts, at least in my book. As far as the coaching conversation, please know that I'm offering it to you with zero expectations of you hiring me for a longer-term engagement. I reached out to you because I enjoyed working with you in the past and was thinking of you and how you're doing, and wanted to gift you with a time and space for you to be able to talk at length about what's happening in your life right now. As a single working mom, I can only imagine how challenging it is for you to ever find 2 hours in your schedule where you can focus on yourself in that way. This would be a chance for you to exhale a bit and do just that. There are no strings attached at all. We could meet in person at a coffee shop or online via Zoom, whichever would be best. And all that said, it's still completely fine to say no. No matter what you decide, I'm glad to hear about all the good that's happening for you right now and about the courageous next steps you're taking in the direction your heart is telling you to go. I hope we can get together soon. All right. So first of all, there's a lot in this that I think is really beautiful and acknowledging. I think the coach did a really nice job saying, hey, this is not about you and I working together. Like, clearly the coach is okay with being like, I know this person can't afford coaching and I want to serve them. And that's great. So I think that's fantastic. And the thing that I see is that the person says, I would love to have a coaching conversation. So the coach already got their yes. So I think, other than saying there's no strings, there's no attachment, let's get it on the calendar. Like, I wouldn't put out there, and you can still say no, and it's like the person has said, I would love to do this. And we want to take people at their word. So when someone says, I would love to do this, I want to respond with, thank you so much. The opening paragraph, as far as the coaching conversation, I'm offering it, no strings. I'm really clear. You're a single mom. I get it. Let's get it on the calendar. Here are 2 options. XX, sincerely. Now, one other thing. There's a line in here that is particularly we could meet in person at a coffee shop. So that is not something that coaches want to be doing. We do not want to be doing business in coffee shops. Coffee shops are not well suited for depthful conversations. They're not. There is no coffee shop that I know of that would be appropriate. And it doesn't speak to the profession well. So what I mean by that is that the way Steve talks about it, which I love, he's like, surgeons don't meet in coffee shops. They're like, well, let's meet at a coffee shop and take a look at your scans. Let's just look. We'll meet at Starbucks. I'll get an unsweetened matcha latte and we'll talk about your brain. And we don't want to either. Now, let me give you the caveat. If I'm going to connect with someone, right? Like, let's say I don't even know if I'd want to have a coaching conversation. Meeting in a coffee shop can be good for like an initial connect, not someone who has said, I want to have a coaching conversation. Now, you may be saying out there, well, hey, but I don't have an office. Like, I can't do it. Totally fine. There are co-working spaces. There are libraries. There are cavernous hotel lobbies. I know a coach who would meet a prospective client in a hotel lobby that was so cavernous, nobody ever came over to see them in this dark little corner where they had couches. There are lots of options, and Zoom is even a decent option. It's better than a coffee shop because you want them to have privacy and you want to have privacy because someone might really want to share something that's really personal, and they're not going to do it over the whoosh of milk being steamed for cappuccinos. They're just not. I wouldn't. So we don't want to ask someone else to. So many good things about this, and get them the dates. You don't even need to re-ask. It's like, get them the dates and I acknowledge your willingness to serve the person. All right, I'm going to open it up. Does anyone have a final burning question that they want answered? Burning. Up. I see Angelos. Let's unmute. Go for it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure.
We've been getting extreme value from you. Thank you so much. My email was there. It was a little bit painful, but I got so much value. Thank you so much again. My question is this, Caroline. So with this repeated, auditing that we do to our emails, and trying to think in terms of some context, in terms of some boxes like the professional self. You have to be the professional self. Don't forget that. Audit yourself again. Do we run a risk of losing our authenticity?
Yes.
Just something that, some creativity, which, is coming from our wisdom, intuition,
right.
The world, the universe.
Yeah.
And let's forget the social self, forget the professional self. Just be whoever you want to be. Write a fucking email.
So let me handle that. I love Angelos. I so appreciate that. And do I have permission to be direct with you?
Go.
You can't just forget the entire professional self and the entire social self, because we saw what happens if you do that. So your job is to be 5% more professional and 5% more crisp. Just go for 5%. See, because yes, your warmth is amazing, right? It's amazing. And clearly you have such enthusiasm, and I would never want to take that away. And your opportunity is to learn how to have that while being professional. So I am by no means, you're raising such a good point, right? It'd be easy to walk away being like, oh my God, I can't even be me. Like, there's no room to be me inside of these requirements. And I want to invite people to think of it in a broader way. There's tons of room to be yourself and to be a strong professional. And that's the learning, right? To learn, how do you thread that needle? How do you learn how to be wildly creative and still be a strong professional? Both can happen.
I like it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, so much. So remember, everyone, you can send one email. Don't be shy. Don't be social self and be concerned about it. Be willing, right? This is how learning occurs. Send us an email. Let us help you. Let us get some real coaching on your communication. And if you don't, it's totally fine too. And remember, try experimenting with 5% more professional self, and write an email and ask yourself each sentence, who is this for? Who is this sentence for? And I love the question, who's the one who wants something in this communication? And then the other question is, would this serve? Would I want to get this email? So bravo to all of you who are here. We're looking forward to getting your emails. You'll get the email address. I'm going to send everyone an email with the address to send the emails to again. And have a beautiful day.
Bye.
Bye.